Hey, pipe community, what's going on? It's been quite some time since I've done a video, and as a matter of fact, it's been quite some time since I've even had a pipe. I'd say it's been a good month, maybe just over, since I've had a pipe. Things just got busy. I wound up getting bronchitis. I busted my ankle. I was hobbling around like an invalid, and just a lot was going on. And as you know, I'm a fair weather pipe smoker. So usually winter months, this time of the year, I'm in my garage with a kerosene heater going, and I've had no kerosene for the kerosene heater this year, so I haven't really gone out to do pipe smoking when it's been really cold all that much anyway. But I stopped at the local brick and mortar on the way home from work last week, and he was new to having purchased these Toscano blends, Cornell and Deal, the Maestros. He had a couple of them, and I figured I'd give this one a shot. This is the Sinfonia, Maestro Sinfonia by Toscano. They've been around for a little while now. I wasn't aware of it. There's a couple of reviews on YouTube about these blends. I think Beans has got a couple of them, and maybe a couple of others as well. I picked out this one because it's got some Latakia in it. Basically, what do we got here? Dark-fired tobaccos with sweetness of red Virginias and Latakia. So it says it's complex and intense and characterized by roasted notes and subtle spicy nuance. We'll see about that, I guess. I'll do my usual here for you. I'll crack this open, we'll take a look at it, I'll sniff around on it and let you know what I think, and then maybe we'll finish this up out in the garage, and I'll actually puff on it and give you my thoughts. So let's get things set up, and then we'll take it from there. Hang tight. All right, here we go. Give you one last look at this. Toscano pipe tobacco, and your usual stuff. There's the description. I'll hold that there for a second. You can pause it, read it if you want, or just go online, watch other videos, do whatever. Let's get into it. This was actually blended last year, 25. 1st of the 8th of 25. There's your little inserts that are always so pleasant to try and get out. Make my life easy here. Just get that out of there. Come on, pop this open. That's pretty nice looking. Get these pucks out of the way. There you go. Look at that. It's presented pretty nicely in there. Flake cut. I smell Virginia forward. With Kentucky, and then the Latakia, if it's there, it's way in the background. Give you another look at that. Let's take a few pieces of this out. Let's get it out of here. I'll probably just rub all this out and stuff it back in here if it's still moist. If it needs drying time, I'll put things on hold. Yeah, there's really no actually full, well, that might be a full flake. They're falling apart real easy. Nice. Good looking flake. It smells good. To me, it smells very Virginia forward. Moisture content, yeah, I'd say this could go right into a bowl. If you want to dry it further, almost to crisp, you probably don't need more than 10 to 20 minutes. Let's rub some of this out. Okay, so I know some of you are probably screaming for doing such a thing, but I prefer to rub out my flakes pretty fine. For me, it's just easier to pack and regulate into the pipe. I've done the fold and stuff method numerous times. It still just doesn't quite work for me, as opposed to, you know, further processing the stuff down. All right, let's get this spread out a little bit, and then I'll give you a close-up look of it. All right, hang tight. All right, so here you go. A little bit of a more up close and personal look at it. I know the lighting is kind of all over the place, but I would say this right here is probably going to be a good example of what you're going to see when you get it, should you decide to give this a shot. If you've already given this blend a shot, drop a comment down in the bucket and let us all know what you think about it. I'm going to let this dry for just a little bit, and then I'll get it packed up into a freshly cleaned cob that's been waiting to go, and we'll take it from there. Hang tight. Alrighty, we're back. I took the liberty of doing the charring light and the true light to get that all out of the way, because how many of those do we have to witness? I didn't give this more than 5 to 10 minutes drying time. In between, I wound up rubbing all of the contents out just a little bit greater, and then putting it back into the can for right now. This is kind of an interesting blend, I'd say. This isn't the first time a cigar brand has like tapped its toes into the waters of a pipe tobacco. I know there's been some others out there over the years. I know I was familiar with Drew Estate years ago. Had some pipe tobacco blends that they had put out there. Meat pie. The only one I got to try, and this was going back to when I first got into pipe tobacco, was an aromatic. It was toasted black Cavendish, which for a toasted black Cavendish was actually pretty good. So I think Cornell and Deal, I think the San Sepulcro is supposedly in this vein of tobaccos also, where it's kind of like some cigar leaf or cigar type leaf that's used in the blends. This is kind of like a middle of the road in terms of flavor and richness, or intensity, if you want to call it that, in my opinion. The tin note, upon opening it, to me was more relevant of kind of like a vapor. It definitely had more of that forward red Virginia, like that pruny, bready type note, with the dark fired coming in behind it. As I was rubbing it out further and just preparing the entire contents of the tin, I did start picking up more of the dark fired leaf. I don't know if it's the same type of dark fired that we use, like the Kentucky that we use in the pipe blends, or if it's just a similar dark fired process of maybe a different type of leaf that they're using. The smokiness, if any, from the Latakia is way in the background in terms of flavor, just like I was picking up on the tin note. I'm doing my best to try and remember other pipe blends that I've had that might be similar to this flavor profile that I could explain to you, and I'm having a hard time. Of course, it's not like I've tried every single pipe tobacco blend that's out there either, but I've been smoking pipes for the past 10 years now, and I've tried a lot of different blends. I've tried pretty much everything throughout the entire range: Virginias, Vapors, Burleys, Virginia Burleys, Aromatics, Englishes, Oriental Forward Englishes, crossovers. There's a little sweetness to this, especially when doing the charring light. It makes your mouth water, kind of like when you get with some more Virginia Forward blends. And you all know I'm not much of a straight Virginia smoker. I really don't smoke straight Virginias all that much at all. I keep trying here and there. I keep going back every now and then. I just haven't settled into that lane yet. Virginia Periques and Virginia Burleys, I'm able to tolerate those a lot more. And I think this is actually a pretty pleasant smoke, to be honest with you. I might even go out and pick up a couple of more tins of this. I don't know if I'm going to be keen on picking up the other offerings that Toscano Maestro has to offer, but this one in particular, I could see for right now picking up maybe one or two more tins and throwing them in the cellar and seeing how they do. You know, maybe crack one open up in 5 years and then crack another one open up in 10 years, and if it's that great and the blends are still being produced and I'm intrigued by it that much, then maybe at that point I'll invest some more in it. But I use blends like this to help break up the monotonous of the Englishes and the Balkans that I smoke. It's one of those, sorry about that, situations I've spoken about in the past. You know, is it good to be into everything so that you never get bored of any one thing in particular? Or is it better to just really stay in your lane with one really specific type of blend and, you know, rely on that to satisfy you throughout your days of smoking pipes? I don't know. I guess I do know. I prefer to keep a large stock of the Englishes and Balkans that I like, with small portions of everything else in between to break up in between all of it. I find that pretty interesting because, again, something like this, right? I'm enjoying this now, and this can had 1 year on it. It wasn't bulging by any means, so it wasn't like it had any crazy fermentation process that developed any of this stuff, you know, in terms of aging. But who's to say what this blend would be like should you have not opened it for 5 years or 7 or 10 years? It would probably do pretty well. Seeing as how it's primarily Virginia forward, but it's already very, to me anyway, like smooth, mellow, and well balanced in the flavor profile anyway. It's not like Virginia flavors are screaming at me or Dark Fired is screaming at me. Certainly the Lataki is not screaming at me. Another reason I did the charring light and the true light off camera was because sometimes I treat a new tobacco I've never had kind of like how I try a new whiskey. When you get into whiskey tastings and stuff like that, the first sip that you take should just be a sip that you take for the sake of taking it, and you don't really think too much about, you know, what you're experiencing in terms of flavor or aroma. And you just let that first sip, you know, sit for a couple of minutes. And then the second sip you take, you know, you spend a little more time in trying to see, like, you know, what kind of deep flavors you get out of it and all that kind of nonsense. It's one of those geeky things that we're all a part of, whether it's tobacco, whiskey, or whatever it is you're into. And give this a little stoke. There is a little creaminess to it. And like I said, I'm having a hard time trying to pick out a pipe tobacco I've had in the past that might be similar to this. I'd have to say it is more similar to maybe just like a middle of the road cigar you might have had. And one with a Connecticut wrapper. Definitely not a Maduro. A little spicy on the retrohale, so I could see why they mentioned that on the tin. I forgot to bring the tin out with me. Not that it matters all that much. apologies, folks. Again, this is kind of why I really don't try and focus on review standards when I make these videos. I can't even say take a pipe blend like this and maybe minus out a topping that's on it or something like that. It's a good blend. It's not stupendous. It's pleasant. It's well balanced. The moisture content was right on the money. Doesn't need a lot of drying time, unless you're someone who wants it completely crisp. And at least the tin that I had, after processing it and rubbing it out and spreading it out on a paper towel, would probably only take 10 to 20 minutes tops to get it like really crisp before putting it into a bowl. Anyway, I've yammered on for long enough. It was great seeing you all. Sorry it took so long for me to get another video up and running. I'll do my best to try and get another one up as soon as I can, something a little different. I've got ideas in the works. It's just a matter of me, having the opportunity to get to it. So with that, I bid you all adieu. I hope you all stay safe. Have a good night, great day, great weekend, whatever's coming up. And until next time, be good.